let's go ahead and start. So welcome everybody to episode 10 of Unhindered by Coding. I apologize for it having been over a week since I've been here. Had knee surgery. There were some knock-on issues. Nothing huge. I'm not dying or anything, but it's been a complicated week. Hopefully things will go okay today and my knee will behave and I can actually stay focused. The various meds sort of messed with my head a little bit, and that was part of why I wasn't here. But I think we're kind of back in a place that works, so fingers crossed. We will be able to write some code and have some fun. So we'll be returning to the ice-repos project, so using Rust and U to build a WebAssembly web app that the goal is to be able to batch archive a collection of repositories in an organization. As a faculty member, I end up with these organizations attached to a particular course, and I get dozens, sometimes close to 100 repositories in an organization like that by the end of the semester, and I want to be able to archive them quickly. The sort of go through and do it through the web interface in GitHub is way too slow to do across 70 repositories. I mean, it's just not going to happen. But I ought to be able to use the API to accomplish that task. So that's what we're working on. So I'm learning I'm learning Rust still. This is my first meaningful app written in Rust. I'm learning U, which means I'm also sort of learning React. U is based on the key ideas in React, which I have never really used React. So and that has issues because the documentation for U, I think, in places kind of assumes React more than I do, at least. And so there was some flailing last week or last time, and especially the time before, that were ultimately probably the result of me not having done my homework, but also just not knowing that much about React. And the U documentation in places, I think, assumed I knew more React than I did. So learning lots of stuff, and but hopefully we'll build something actually useful in the end and learn some cool things. So that's the basic idea, and hopefully we'll be able to get some stuff done. So let's actually get into it. Let's see. Let's go back to. Let's actually look at where we are, sort of from. And the interface is terrible. I grant you that. We'll have to clean this up. This is the interface is sort of the basic CSS that came with the template that we started with, and so it's not awesome. And we'll make some improvements today, but we spent most of last time, which was now over a week ago, getting some kind of text field thing to happen here, and we've got most of that resolved. There's a couple of little things that still need to be dealt with. I had some concerns about the callbacks not being right, and I looked at it a little bit after the stream was over, and it turns out actually the callbacks are correct. We got the callbacks right. I just have a bit of logging that I'd forgotten was there and was sort of confusing me. So let's see, where is my logging? Okay, so here I was logging, and I think this was the log that was confusing me. and made me think that something wasn't happening that should. And there should be then another log. Yeah, okay. So this is the log I was expecting, which we got, and then the other log I was like, what's going on? So let's actually catch up quick on where we are, and then we'll try to fix some things and add some functionality. Hey, nice to see you again. Let's see. Let's focus here on the home page because that's the thing that matters at the moment. So we're home page is a function that returns HTML. It's a function component, so we can have a tag home page in camel case, and that is called in the router somewhere, I think. Well, let's not get bogged down in that. But this is the homepage component, and I've added a little Tailwind CSS class stuff in a few places that was not there, I think, when we were last together. Just sort of exploring Tailwind, and I've still got to clean some stuff up, but it was like, oh, it worked, yay. So we've got the headers with the 4 times and 2 times font sizes, and then here's the part that matters at the moment. Like this about doesn't really do anything meaningful right now. It's just going to be text anyway, and I'm not going to take up people's time watching me like write some description of what the app is. We'll focus on the coding side of things. So here we've got a little label, which actually probably should be properly a label, ultimately. I bet this probably ought to be a label attached to this input. I'll deal with that another time. So we got a paragraph tag with the label, and then we call this text input component. And this is a component, this is the main accomplishment of the last time we were together, is to get this to work. And so this is going to be an input. It's going to have a value, which is initially the empty string, and it's going to have an on-change callback. So when this input changes, we want to call on-change. That on-change callback is defined here. So it's a callback that takes a string. So I think this is one of these things where I'm clearly not fully on top of what's going on. I look at this, I'm like, what is this the input? Is this the output? But this is, I think, the value we're getting as the input to the callback. And that tells us, I think, that it's this type right here as a string. Because this doesn't return anything. This logs, but it doesn't actually return anything. So when this callback gets called, it's going to be passed a string. At the moment, all it does is log to the console on the browser that we got something from the text input, and we'll need to change that to do something more interesting, like actually talk to GitHub and do something with that organization name. So that's what happens when there's a change to the text input. Let's actually look at our text input component. And this was lifted in part from an example last time. Let's actually run down to the HTML first, and then we can back up and deal with the pieces. So we're going to have an input that's of type text. This is just playing around with the width and the spacing of that input. It's going to have an on-input callback, and that's being defined up here. We'll talk about that in a second. Its value, so what's displayed, is going to be this field contents, which is going to be the state of this component. We'll talk about that in a second. So that's a reference. We have to dereference it. We also have to clone it. So we're passing a clone of the value in to the component to display. We don't want the component to own the value because we still need to keep it. And then there's some more size, placeholder information. And then we have a button, which has an on-click callback. That's defined here. We'll talk about that in a second. And then I played around some with some Tailwind stuff to specify its size and stuff. It says submit, yada, yada. Okay, so what happens with these things? So we have on input and on click as our two callbacks, and we have field contents as our state. So let's talk about the field contents first. So U has a notion of state in a component, and you can call uState as a way of accessing that state, and that gives you a handle to the state. In this case, the state is just a string, and uState takes an initialization function of no arguments, so a closure of no arguments, that should return the initial state. So in our case, it will be a string that's the empty string. Now, one of the things that happened when we last worked on this is that I had an issue. So I started off with a string slice here, and something happened, and we fixed it by just converting everything to string, but I don't think that was the right solution. I think that I should have stuck with stir slice and fix the actual problem. So that's one thing I want to do today, is go back and see if we can turn this back into stir slices instead of a string, but it works. And then we also have text input props. So a function component can have properties that are passed into it, and those are what are being provided when we call an instance or create an instance of the component using the tag. And so here we're going to have a string value and an on-change callback, and that's what we get here. We have value, which is string, and on-change, which is this callback, and these are things that come in this properties. And text input props is defined right here. So it implements the properties trait, and it has these two public fields, value and on-change, which are string, and a callback. And so those are being specified, passed in here when we use the text input, and the text input gets them through this props argument in the component. So this is how we pass stuff from the HTML, where the tag is, to the function component definition. And so here we're just extracting the relevant bits from the properties. We clone it because we don't want to take ownership of it, because I think it persists across calls. And we're just using pattern matching to get the pieces out. And currently we don't ever use value, which seems slightly odd to me. I wonder actually if value is even necessary. The fact that we're not using it anywhere. I'm a little confused about that. I'm gonna make a note. I'll put that here. Do we need value in text input props, or is the state doing all the useful work there? So yeah, I'm not sure. But let's not get bogged down in that right now either. So then on input, so this on inputs, the callback here for the actual input field. So the question, what do we do when the user types something? We are going to get the contents of our field, so the current state, and we're going to call back from an input event. So we're getting some kind of input event that this is being called because there's an input event here, and we're setting the field contents to be the value of our input field based on this input event. So this get value from input event, we wrote that I think 2 streams ago, but it takes this input event and drills down and finds the actual DOM element and extracts the text from that, and then returns it, and then we set the field contents to be that new thing. So we're reading from the DOM and then setting our state basically to be whatever the new state is. And this was logging every time. Where'd that go? Oh, right here. This logs every time that gets called, and that was logging every time a character was being typed, and that's what made me think something was amiss. But I think that it's fine, and I just want to get rid of this log thing here. Okay, so then when we click, this is the important part. We don't really want to send something back from this component until they click submit. And the on click is on our button here. So again, we're going to get our field contents. Then we've got a callback on this mouse event, which we never actually use. So really, I probably should just make that an underscore, because we're never going to care about the details of that mouse event. And so, because we're assuming it came from clicking on this button, it's the only way it could have happened. And so when that happens, we're going to call on change, which is, that's up here. Yeah. So that's this callback that was passed in the properties. So that's the callback down here. It's this callback here. So we're going to ask that to emit the current value of the field, so the current state. So when we click the button, we will send back the current value of the state to the parent of this component, and it will receive it through this callback here. So the current contents of the field will be passed as this string to this callback, and at the moment it's just going to be like, hey, we got a thing. So that should all still work. Let's see if we type frogs here. Oops, hello. We gotta fix that font color because you can't see anything. And then actually I need to have my JavaScript console. Yeah, so when I typed frogs, the logging in the code that processes typing in the field, it logged every single character, but we only sent something back. We only emitted a value back to the parent component once at the end. And so that was, I think it was these logging messages here that had confused me before. But I think if we just eliminate this log here, oh, and actually while we're here, let's do something about the color of, what's the thing that's, so the color, the text color in the actual, so in this input, we would like to have the color be something less bad. Now we could do that by changing the text color or by changing the background color. I'm actually just gonna say background gray 600 and see if that gets us to a happy place. And now if I say frogs, that's a lot more readable. Frogs, boom. I click submit, and then we get the one logging message. Okay, so there we go. Way, we got a thing. So I think that actually gets us to where we have a working text component that is capable of receiving some text that we type and passing it back to the parent component. The moment the parent component doesn't do anything interesting with it, but we at least have got the component working. I'm not sure about, I'm not clear about whether value should be there or not. But I think we've sorted this out. So I'm actually going to delete that. I think the callbacks are fine. There was some discussion about changing the state when the text area loses focus instead of requiring a click. Or notice it didn't work when I tried to just hit enter. So ducks and hitting, you can't see this, but I'm banging on the return key and I'm not getting anywhere. And we really should be able to hit return and have something work, but I don't want to get lost in that right now. So, but I'm gonna make a note. Allow the user to press enter instead of having to click on submit. Boom. So let's see if we can convert the state back to a string slice, because I feel like that would be nice. Why did I care though? Oh, I think this is part of why I ended up with the cloning and some things like that were going on. Let's see if we can do that. And actually, I should probably commit the few little changes we've made, because I want to make sure I don't have to lose things. Do I actually want to comment that out, or do I want to remove it entirely? Oh yeah, so you're probably right that on focus out probably would be called on a tab press, and that might not be desirable. But I don't, actually, if it's going to be the only input at this point. Let's see if we come back here. There is nothing to do until you've actually entered an organization name, and so if you entered something and tabbed out of here, then that probably would be entirely reasonable to have that be a signal that, hey, like, go get that organization info. And because my idea here, which I haven't actually explained at any point really, but is that if you enter an organization and tab or enter or hit submit, whatever thing, that then there would be a list of all of the repos in that organization displayed below with checkboxes next to them, so that, and probably by default all the check boxes would be checked, because typically you would probably want to archive all of them, and you could use the checkbox to say, okay, I don't want to archive these two, but I want to archive the rest. And I think one of the questions is going to be what information about the repositories to display to help the user make decisions about what to archive and what to leave there. And simplest thing is just the name of the repository, but it might make sense to sort them by last commit or some other notion of when the repository was last changed, so that if there is current activity on a repository, we'd be like, well, maybe we shouldn't archive that and we should go look into it and see what's going on. But if none of them have been touched in 6 months or 2 years or whatever, then you're like, yeah, archive the whole set. So really, once we're not typing in this box, there's nowhere else to go in this interface. There's nothing else to do. So really, enter or tab or clicking the button, any of those seem like they're probably like, yeah, let's just move on, do something. And as long as the system doesn't fail in some egregious way, if this isn't a legal organization, if it turns out there is no organization with that name, we just want to probably say so and not do anything dramatic. In which case it won't hurt really, other than we'll generate an HTTP request, and there's some cost to that, but not a lot. I think it'd be fine. So, okay, so where was I? I got excited and started talking. I'm going to make a note, though, because I think that was an interesting... let's put that here. Nowhere else to go in this simple interface. Boom. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. I'm not sure how these components handle things like enter. I think it's just. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's they're handling that, they're checking that character and handling that character separately, or if there's an HTML thing that on inputs that handles enter specially. I've not done a lot of web programming, so I'm really more of a back-end person in a lot of ways. So we'll come back to this. So I did want to deal with this stir thing. So let's see if we can make that happen. So I think if I just make this a double quote, wow, got lots of things there. Now that's a stir slice. Okay, that's going to break a whole bunch of things. Now get value from input event. So target value is a string. So this is, it expected a stir slice and got a string. So it suggests that we could consider borrowing. Does that solve the problem? It solves that problem. So a reference to a string can be converted under the covers to a reference to a stir slice, whereas a string cannot be turned into a reference to a slice, but a reference to a string can. So this turns the reference, even though the get value is returning a capital S string, asking for a reference for it can convert to a stir slice. So on key press, is that handles all the key presses? So we would have to have like a conditional that's like which key was pressed, it was the return key, and handle that in that fashion, I'm assuming. And then, okay, so this doesn't work. So we've got a string. Oh, that's right, because we're emitting. So this would be, we'd want to change this callback to be a stir slice, not a capital S string. Okay. And that means this. Why is this one fussing? So I've still got a string somewhere. Oh, props. Yeah, it still thinks this is a string. Let's change that to a stir. Ooh, didn't like that. Oh. And I think that's interesting. So why did that? And if I take the reference out, oh, then it blows everything up. But if I put the reference back, then we have a lifetime problem. Well, that's interesting. Oh, I hadn't expected that. Gonna grab this link that you shared. Come on. Oh, no, over here. Thank you. Yeah, so we're actually checking to see what the actual key press is. Okay. Well, that's kind of annoying. Seems kind of crude, but well, it might have to go down that road, but yeah. And then coming back to your, so static would solve the problem. Is that the right thing to do? I guess so. Like that callback. Because saying static there means the callback will live for the life of the program. Or actually that string, stir slice, will live for the length of the program. And that, I don't know, it seems like too much to me, or more than necessary. And now that breaks this. Yeah. So now this value is dropped while it's borrowed. So this temporary value is freed at the end of the statement. But we now need it to last basically forever. So that is maybe more than we strictly needed. Although I bet whatever we do, we're still going to have to do something down here to get the lifetimes to play nice. So this is interesting, and this is novel to me because I have not really dealt with lifetimes very much. I know they exist, and I know that they matter, but I haven't actually done a lot with them. So I need to, think for a second about what needs to happen here. So we need this state. If this state is going to be a reference to a stir slice, that reference needs to live as long as the component lives. If the component were to be destroyed, that state would go with it, and we wouldn't need it anymore. But So actually, to get to your question, why do I not want to use it? Maybe I don't have a good reason for not wanting to use it. We had started with stir slice when we were working on this in the last episode, and it didn't work, and we ended up switching to string. And I think it was a cloning problem that led to us switching to string. And that got it to work, and I was happy about that. But I guess I felt at the time, why did I feel something was off? Because do I have any reasonable argument? Because given that this is returning, the get value from input event returns a string, capital S string, and we don't really have any control over that because that's what target.value is returning, is it's returning a capital S string. Then is there any reason not to just use a string? Because we're going to get one from the component. Why not just put that in as the state and use it? I don't know that I've got a good answer to that question. Maybe we should just leave it alone. And I say here to avoid all the copying. And I think that all the copying was in this clone here. We had to clone the string so that the input could have a copy of it, and I think that bugged me a little, and I thought that if we had a stir slice we would avoid that. But we're going to have to do I don't know that that's really going to win. And introducing the lifetimes, that seems like a complication that nobody needed. One thing I don't know that I understand is why lifetimes weren't an issue before. And I think it's because this was a string, not a reference to a string. And so the string could be dropped when the state was dropped. And now if we make it a reference to a slice, then it's not clear when that slice can be dropped. Maybe I should just take it back to being strings. Maybe that would be the simplest thing. And I don't really worry about this clone because really that clone's not that big a deal. Yeah. And there's the cloning. So I think we added when we switched to string, we ended up having to add a lot of clones. And I think those clones bugged me. And I think that's why I was hoping that I could get back to a string slice. So part of the point of this is to learn stuff. So let me actually see if I can learn something about lifetimes here and use this as a opportunity to learn something about lifetimes. This may end up being kind of flaily, but fingers crossed it won't be too bad. So we could go with static, but that doesn't seem, like I said earlier, this seems to be too big. That we're saying that the lifetime of this stir slice has to be the entire life of the program, and that doesn't seem great. It seems like it ought to be the lifetime of the component that we want that stir slice to, well, but even that doesn't make sense. Maybe I really do want to clone things because, like, okay, this little stir slice here, if I'm not careful, if I say its lifetime is the lifetime of the component, then once the state changes, does this still hang around until the component goes away? And that doesn't seem good. Grumpy grump. Maybe we should just leave it at strings. I'm going to do that. We're going to roll back. Let's see. Everything that's changed now is... oh, no, actually, that's not true. Because we deleted that. And I want to keep that deletion. The rest of this... oh, and I want to keep that. So I want to actually stage that line and stage these lines. And I apparently want to also stage those lines and that and that and that. Okay. This is all about changing string. This is all about changing string. This I want to keep because I added the color change. That's about string stuff, and that's about string stuff. Okay. So we want to commit all this and pitch the rest. So fixed or improved the readability, should be improve the readability of the input field. This changes the background color of the field so that the text is more readable. Why are you like hugely off the end there? Wow, I don't know quite what's going on there. Also updated some of the comments. Okay. Boop. And then I'm going to just get rid of all this because this is all going to be string stuff. Boop. Yeah, reset all that. Okay. So, so maybe not going to do this. Leave this alone. We got into a lot of life So actually, and that's been dealt with. So let's actually see if we can get to talk someplace where we're talking to GitHub, because that would be kind of fun. Instead of flailing around too much in all of this component stuff. So we get the component back. Actually, I want to make sure that things still work. Frogs. Boom. Oh, actually, my comment out of that line, I undid that. Ducks. Yeah. Okay. So currently, we're getting this string back in our homepage component, and we are logging it, and that's all we're doing. So we really want to pass that to a new component that's going to be below this input. So we're going to want something like div, and then this is going to be the, put a comment where the list of repositories go. Did I not get, oh, does that not, oh, because, yeah, this isn't actually HTML, this is Rust. So I think actually that works. Yeah, okay. Wow. We're in code land, it just looks like HTML. Okay. So, we'll ultimately want something that makes an HTTP call here and puts makes the list. That's going to need to be a new component. So we're going to want to have like I don't know, H2 the list of repositories for the organization. Something's going to need to be put there. Now we need so we need to somehow capture this and put it here. So if we have a let organization, it's going to be a string, and it's going to need to be a mute because it'll change. If we declare that, can we assign that here? Organization equals string. Semicolon. Does that work? Okay. And now this is unhappy. Oops. Come back to the me error. Okay, so we went. This closure is supposed to just be an FN, but we're mutating something, so it's actually an FN mute. Poop. I'm not sure I know exactly what to do about that. EO525. Okay. Oh, this just tells me that it didn't implement the trait that it needed to implement. That's not helpful. Because we knew that. So mutating that variable causes us to, our callback to not deal with the right trait. Or, yeah, the right trait. We're doing FN mute instead of FN. So what can we do here? We could create a state like we did up here, I suspect. Is that what we're going to have to do? I was sort of... Well, but we'll still need to... Well, no, because these callbacks are accessing state and not having a fit. So maybe state's what we have to do. Not thrilled about that. Seems a little weird to have the state of this be the organization, but maybe. So let's try it. See if it works. So let organization be use state init fn, and this will also be an empty string. Oh, I'm not supposed to type the init fn part. Duh. And now we would say organization dot set open paren string. But I probably need to clone something somewhere. Why is this fussy? Ooh. Lifetimes. Function requires argument to outlive type static. Oh, we need move. Sure. I knew that. Because we need to borrow organization just like we did here and here. We need to be able to borrow organization so that we can do the set on it. Now, why are you... oh, yeah, right. So logging, this is actually taking ownership and our logging doesn't work anymore. But, you know, I don't think we care about the logging. So if I just comment that line out, that'll be okay. Because now we ought to be able to put the value of our organization here in these question marks, which I think we want to format, right? So we want format and we change this to those, and we have too many things there. And here we have organization.get. And however, that is not happy. Expected one argument. How did we get the value out? when we emitted field contents, oh, so it's a reference. So it's actually oh, so and there's no get. We just sort of grab the except we're gonna have to clone that. Yeah, so we're gonna have to do that clone again. Boop, 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 boop. No, still not happy. Borrow of moved value here. Borrow occurs due to deref coercion to string. So it's like this is being grumpy. Oh, it's because we're not doing the clone before this callback. So we need to... How's that going to happen? On change. So this is going to have to be... Okay. So we're going to have to create a local scope. And let organization equal organization. That's not ordering. Organization.clone. Then we do the callback, and that, let's see, that maps to that, and then boom. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so we had to create a local scope so that we could clone the organization, and then the clone is what gets moved into the callback. And this is similar to the problem, the thing that bugged me before about copying everything. And I don't know if that, I still am not convinced that I'm doing the right thing here, but that, because we do seem to clone these strings all the time, but that seems kind of not rusty to be cloning constantly. I mean, we're not going to, in this app, none of this is happening very much, so it doesn't really matter. But part of the point is to try to learn and understand Rust better, and I feel like I'm failing to do that at the moment. But let's see if we can make this work. So now this now works. Yay! At least it compiles. Now, do we actually get somewhere? So if I say frogs, hey, it did. put frogs in. Now we probably don't want this to show up unless there is an organization value here. So we probably want some kind of conditional check and only do this if there is a non-empty value for the organization. And that should be possible. You conditional, put Rust in front of that. Let's just say that. Conditional rendering, exactly what I was looking for. So actually, let's go. Oh, that one. No, come on. Well, let's assume they haven't changed the conditional rendering in a significant way. Oh, it's just Rust. Duh. And we don't need to do anything fancy. We can just check things. Remembering that, like, this is just Rust. Everything's going to be okay. So if star organization dot is empty. Oh, is not empty. Okay, let's Rust check if string is not empty. I can't spell. Okay, so is empty does seem to exist. Is there a is not empty? String is empty. Well, that's not helpful. How about Rust string is empty? String is empty. Yeah, so it looks like we just have negation of it. Okay, fine. We'll negate it. So if not is empty, and it was just is empty, yes. Boom. Then we will have this div. Boom, boom. Let's see if that worked. La 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 da daddly do. Oops. No, we rendered it. Huh. We should not have rendered it. Reload, yeah. So that did not do the desired thing. Oh, well, that's because this probably didn't compile. Is it just this? Oh, maybe it's just we didn't need, because organization is a string. La la la. Hey! And it's now missing. And if I say frogs, it shows up! Huzzah! So, welcome back. So we managed to, so we've created a state for the home page, which is the current organization that's been entered. We've captured that when the text input changes. We grab that and set it to be the value of the organization state. And we had to do this cloning stuff, which I'm still not thrilled about, but yeah. And then we've used some conditional rendering. So if the organization is not empty, then we will render this div. Otherwise, we will not. And it does the things. Now that's interesting. H2. So I suspect that really maybe for tailwinds, what I ought to be doing is, well, what if I say class equals text to Excel. You can do it, little computer. Frogs. Boom. Yeah, okay. So, we did the thing. Okay, so now we can actually try making a call to GitHub and see if we can get some information about this organization. That would be very cool. So, how are we going to do that? So, there are some libraries that we can use to talk to GitHub. We could do this like kind of by hand and just use like Tokyo directly to make HTTP requests. And I may want to actually come back and do that at some point, because it would probably be useful and educational and informative to have a better understanding of how the low-level guts of things like Tokyo and Serday work. But I think in the interest of pressing on, we'll go ahead and actually use, as one really typically should, if there's a good tool that does the thing, use the tool, and don't build your own. And there seem to be basically two options out there that looked kind of promising. So Octocrab and this Rust, both of which look like they would do the desired thing. Both of which appear to be updated recently. So this has been updated 16 days ago. This was updated 11 days ago. So they seem to be actively being worked on. I think, based on just sort of looking at the documentation, I like the Octocrab one better. It feels like it would be simpler to get some basic stuff up and running. That it's still flexible if we need to add or change some things. It's got the models for the different data types that we probably care about. In particular, it's got orgs and repos, which is probably the only two we need. And it does support authentication, and has some help for that. And there's also some, sorry, I'm scrolling around so much. There is some GraphQL support, which looks like that could be fun if we want to get into that, although I don't know that we need to. So my inclination is to go ahead and use Octocrab. We'll see if that's a good idea. I don't really know, but it's a shot. So we want Octocrab 016 to be added to our cargo DOML. There we are. So dependencies, Octocrab, and then we're gonna want to grab some stuff. So I think we want to look at organizations, because that's really what we're after. So we don't want add or update membership. We just want to get an organization. How do we get an organization? get an organization. So we .org. I feel like we're in the wrong thing. Where is this .orgs? Dealt with. Let's go back up to Octocrab. Orgs. I didn't want to struct. Well, maybe it's just that we say .orgs. Yeah, so maybe it is just so I assume so this is get the least active repos belonging to owner. So this is the organization. So this is a name, supposed to be a name of an of a person probably, and then list repos, which is really exactly what we want. Well, I don't know. Let's try it. Do I actually want to take this whole thing? The least active repos belonging to owner. That is basically what I'm looking for. I want the repos that have been dealt with the least often. So maybe just take the whole thing as an example, and we can see what happens. Oh, hey, we're not. It is shouting. Why are you unhappy? Everything got real unhappy. Why did everything get so fussy? Obviously adding that cargo toml dependency blew up the world. Okay. I'm going to make that go away for a second. Make sure that brings it back so that we know that that's what the problem was. Thinking. It actually weirded out a whole lot of stuff. Like Routable is now yelling, and like adding that dependency kind of blew up the universe. And I don't know why. Now, are you going to get somewhere here? Okay. Proc macros not expanded. Routable not expanded. No build data. What happened? Okay, let's kill that. And let's try rebuilding. Let's see if we get some useful information. Okay, so it built fine in the terminal. So VS Code seems to be lost and very sad. What is your deal, VS Code? Reload the window. Let's see if it figures out what's going on. Okay. Now that seems happier. Let's go back to... Let's see if we... Octocrab 016. Okay. Octocrab 0.16. Boom. Now, let's try killing you and reloading. What happens? So we're building Octocrab. Oh, hey. So Octocrab doesn't build. No method named user agent found for struct client builder in the current scope. Well, that's not helpful. Is this a Rust version problem? I thought I had... Wow. A pretty reasonable... I think I've got Rust C ---- version. So 159. Oh, it even says that in my prompt. That's not like super out of date or something. Rust version. Oh, well, we're up to 162. So maybe that's the issue? Huh. I don't know. Well, we can try updating. I don't know how long this will take. Hopefully I didn't just like launch into something that'll take forever. Come on. Please don't take a million years. Yeah, one of the joys of working with things that are still under active development is, and I don't even know for sure if this is the problem, but it smelled like these two things don't want to talk to each other kind of problem. And okay, so now, do you build? Doodly-doo. Rebuilding the world. Probably because I updated Rust, it has to rebuild all the dependent libraries, I'm guessing. So is clean building what it's doing now, so recompiling all the libraries that we had depended on previously. Because, yeah, you're right. Doing a clean build probably would have been important. But it seems to be smart and it's doing that for me. So, yay. I hope this fixes things. Because, It would have been a lot of time spent for nothing if this didn't sort of do the deal. And I don't know that I've seen any of the Octocrab stuff go by. I suspect not, because it's probably got to build other stuff first before it can deal with Octocrab. Oh, there goes Octocrab. Work! Come on! You can do it! Please? No! Why does that not work? Well, maybe Octocrab's not a good choice. Well, let's do a little searching and see if we can find something simple. So, user agent method not found in client builder. Octocrab user agent was underscore, yeah, method not found in client builder. Yeah, that's how I think. I don't think that was helpful. No, that's definitely not going to be useful. So was there something about installing it / was there a bit that I missed that I needed about just using it? So it just says toss it in the cargo toml and that something ought to happen. But if I put it in the cargo toml, the world breaks up. Are there issues? Oh. Do we think that Rust 2018 is the problem? And that I'm using Rust 2021, I think? Yes. Let's try just searching for Octocrab will not compile. Rust Octocrab will not compile. Must include Octocrab. Well, this is very annoying, because I really thought Octocrab was going to be a nice option, but it yeah, let's see. So when I add Octocrab to the cargo toml, boom, lots of bad things happen. So there's this user agent stuff. There's future created by async blocks or not send, and etc. So more of the send stuff, and the send stuff was what made me think maybe my version of Rust was too behind, but maybe it's the other way around. Maybe if they're using Rust 2018, maybe my version of Rust and their version of Rust are not being friends. Because this await send stuff smells to me like something that could have changed, and that's why this isn't building. But I don't know. I'm really rather lost. And as you say, there aren't any Git issues saying it won't compile, and attempting to search for issues with Octocrab not compiling turns up nothing. So, yeah, I'm really not clear on why this is not working. Really not clear on what's going on here. Oh, thank you. And I remember when I was doing the rustlings exercises, there was one place where something didn't work for me and it did work for some of you. I don't remember exactly who was here and what the thing was, but there was something that seemed to be possibly a version issue. So, I mean, it's possible that I've got some kind of version thing going on that's wrong, but you know, it says that my Rust compiler is 1.6.2, which is the most recent one. And I don't know, Rust up. What can I do? Rust up tell me things. How about Rust up show? So you have WASM 32 unknown, stable, and Rust C 1.6.2. So I think I got everything up to date. I don't think I have anything that's like way out of date here, so I'm a little confused. Oh really? It compiles for you. So it's clearly a me thing. That's weird. That is very strange. Huh. Yeah, I'm wondering if that's a compatibility with packages. So, oh, and there was in the errors there was stuff about rec-WASM. I wonder which of these I actually need, because like at the moment I'm not directly talking to Serday at all. I mean, I don't think. Am I? I don't know. Like if I comment that, what happens? No, still all grumpy. Sure. Yeah, that actually might be a reasonable thing. Let's try the. Let's see if we can do a clean. Let's kill that. Make a new terminal. Let's just make Octocrab test. Actually, I guess cargo will make the directory for me. Octocrab test. code. Cargo dependencies. Octocrab 0.16. Boom. Okay. Now, does it load? It's thinking. No. Cargo do. Right. Presumably there's a build thing. That's probably Rust analyzer looking at things. So I'll stop that. Rust analyzer gonna be happy. There's a cargo. I want, yeah, build. That's what I wanted. Come on, you can do it. La 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 la. Come on. There we go. Adding Octocrab really bringing like resiliency, which isn't surprising. La 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 la. Come on. Oh, okay, we're trying to compile Octocrab. Now the moment of truth. And it compiled. Well, that's interesting. So that suggests that some dependency here is blowing up the world. Yeah. Well, let's just add other dependencies one at a time until we see which one goes boom. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I should clean build. Oh, but this could take forever too. Ah. Oh. It's recompiling Octocrab. Come on. You can do it. This is really gonna be tedious. Okay. So that worked. Why do I have this feeling that it's going to be Saturday or WASM? So clean build. So it should be cargo clean build, I assume. But maybe since it did recompile Octocrab, maybe that's not necessary? I don't know. But let's be... Oh, no. Oh. So you just have to do them as two separate things? No, I did not cargo clean on the bad directory. So I did do a full compile, but everything all blew up. So going now because I'm doing two builds at a time, which is probably not. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I bet it does. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Oh, so it did work with Saturday. I should wait and let this finish. Oh! So a clean build seems to have fixed things. Because I still have Octocrab in. And now everything's good. Well, that's weird. Okay. Let me try trunk. Yeah, I'm glad the sound is returned. I apologize for the trouble. Let's see if we can run trunk. Oh, compiling a bunch of new stuff. That's weird. I would have thought. Well, cargo build. Yeah, I'm not really sure what all trunk is doing. So trunk seems to be also doing some stuff clearly and is forcing compilation. So let's hope that this will build. So thanks for the suggestion about cleaning. Obviously, and this is true with a lot of systems. If you update a major component, you probably have to clean and rebuild. So, oh, hey, trunk doesn't work. So, okay. So that is interesting. So cargo build worked, but trunk doesn't. So when trunk tries to compile Octocrab, everything dies. Well, that's annoying. But it gives me something to search for. Let me do Octocrab trunk will not compile. Nothing. Yeah. So I might poke after the stream's done. I might poke the Octocrab people and see if they're aware of this. And we could keep trying to build this out, but it looks like it doesn't fail until you call trunk. And I'd have to do some more testing, which probably isn't the best use of our time here at the moment. So what was the other option? The other option was Octorust. That's over here. Octorust. I mean, I don't know if I can do anything without providing authentication credentials, which is going to be a thing I'm going to have to deal with at some point. But I was hoping to not deal with it today, to be honest with you. And getting into access tokens and things like that. Well, humph. Well, okay. It's 11:45, and we're due to wrap up in 15 minutes anyway. Is there, if we step away from the Octocrab craziness, actually, does a comment symbol like this work? It must, because this is clearly a comment. So I should be able to comment out Octocrab that way. And now, fingers crossed, this will actually build. So is there something else simple that I could deal with in 15 minutes? Well, one thing I guess is it seems to me that this value field, oh, that's no longer underlined. Is that because the world is broken? No. So is value being used? Okay. Come back to here. So this compiled. Yeah, so the value's not being used. I probably need to just reload the window to force it to figure out that the world's changed. So value is important for passing in well, we need it here. No, that's the input. It's here. Yeah. So we pass in the empty string here, and that's the only place that's ever used. And so I don't think we need it. I think we can just get rid of that. And then that would get rid of where'd it go? The fact that we get a warning about this all the time. So let's try commenting that out. And then we'll see where what all breaks. And it's just that. So if we take that out, do we have some other things that are broken now? Looks like it. What is grumpy? Oh, okay, here, yeah. So we just get rid of that. Nope, that's not a good idea. And now everything compiles. View problems. So we got an unused import. And some spelling issues. So, okay. And now frogs. Boom. Okay. So that all works better. So we got rid of that. So that took care of an issue. So the state was doing all the useful work. Let's add that. Let's see. We should just delete that. In fact, I don't think that's serving a useful purpose anymore. Oh, and actually we should delete the whole value thing rather than just commenting it out. So we deleted that, we deleted that. We deleted this. And we deleted value here. We added this. That actually probably ought to be a different thing. So I think we want to why did this get added? And is that being used? No. Oh, I think actually I'm not sure when that came into the world, but let's get rid of it. La 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 la, rebuild. And we're not ever using that import. Why is that? You would have thought that we've got all kinds of callbacks, but those are probably being brought in by the prelude. See if that's still happy. It appears to be. And frogs. Boom. Yep. That all still looks good. Okay, so then let's, so this cleaned up. That's part of the string stuff. The value, I mean. This is the new stuff. Let's add this. Okay, so I think this is all going to be about the value and a little cleanup. Yes. Remove value from text input props. We don't need value anymore because that's being handled by the state in that component. And this removes all references to that. This also cleans up and import and the to-do comments. Yep. Bloop. And now we've got this, which I should probably have a commit for this. So this add organization state to home page component. This adds the currently entered organization, let's say GitHub organization, as the state for the home page component. We use conditional rendering to only display that when it is not empty. Okay. And then we'll leave the Octocrab thing alone for now because who knows. And it's 11:54. Is there something in 6 minutes? Probably not. So I think we'll call it quits. I will poke the Octocrab people about why trunk doesn't seem, Octocrab plus trunk seems to be all bad, and see if they have any thoughts. I will not be here Tuesday because I have a physical therapy appointment related to my knee surgery. But I hope to be here on Saturday next week. So fingers crossed that'll happen. And as I'm getting better, recovering from all of this, if I have a little moment where I'm just like, I should program, I might just like do some random streams at non-scheduled times, because I feel really behind, and I'm getting better, so I'm feeling the urge to like try to do stuff. And there's a lot of physical outdoor things like gardening that I can't really do, at least not for very long, or not at all, depending on the activity. but I can program, so I might just randomly appear and program for a while and then randomly vanish again. But I'll see if the Octocrab people have any thoughts on why this thing doesn't build. And yeah, thank you all very much for your help and your time. I appreciate it. Won't be here Tuesday, but we'll hopefully be here Saturday, and look forward to seeing you again. So thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later. Bye. And everything.